It's Friday the 27th of December in the Vendée Globe, the skipper's 47th day at sea, and the battle at the front between Yoann Richomme and Charlie Dalin is as intense as ever as they make their way up the South Atlantic. We have a deep depression in the eastern side of the Pacific Ocean, which quite a few of the sailors have to contend with. And we hear from Sam Goodchild, Justine Mettraux and Sam Davies as they each discuss how they're going to go about that. We then take a look at the tracker, the leaderboard and PredictWind routing options for Yoann Richomme in the South Atlantic and Sam Davies, who's slightly more to the north in the Pacific Ocean. And then we also hear from Conrad Coleman and Heer.
Hello everyone, a little Boxing Day update. The wind's just starting to come in for this depression before Cape Horn. So it's the fifth one of the Southern Ocean. And we are 849.6 miles from Cape Horn. So we should be there day after tomorrow. And at the moment we got 25 knots. We're expecting up to 30, 35 and probably quite a bit more sea state, up to 5 meters. So it's a decent depression, but nothing that we haven't seen already. So got all the big sails down and small sails now. Made a massive mess of the cockpit. Got a little bit of tidying up to do, but all good. And I'm looking forward to heading north, even if it looks like we're going to be upwind for the whole way, or a lot of the South Atlantic's upwind anyway. Anyway, looking forward to getting north and or pointing north anyway. We're at 50. Almost at 59 south here. It's a long way down, so a long way to go. See ya.
So yeah, just to show you quickly, that's the road book I was reading, like about, you know, the horn, the different classic routes, the stuff you have to take care about. So yeah, loads of information. Thanks a lot, Joy, to gather up all of that. So on my side, I'm doing quite a lot of routings, trying different routes closer or further away from the Cape. Yeah, it's not completely clear now. Not clear routes making big gains. So yeah, we'll see how it evolves in the coming days. There is still a bit of time to decide, and there will be times to decide all the way up. That's it.
Yeah, all good here. All these issues, yeah. And I'm pretty happy with the last few days in the strong, strong 30 knots and quite big sea states. Happy that I've got a small pro and it had a hole in it and repaired it quite new, and I'm really happy about the repair because that's held up in there. So she did a good job, and the sail works really well in these conditions. So that's cool. I managed to, manage a decent sleep and eat, and while still in quite difficult conditions. So that's good. And then for the route I'm taking, we've got it's sort of a secondary low attached to the one we just had, which is going to push up over the next 24 hours and create some more pretty tough conditions, and especially it's going to send up a massive sea state. We're just up to 8 meter waves, and that's above the limit that I'd set myself as my kind of seamanship and looking after my boat and my gear and my sails. And so the straight line route basically took me through very strong winds and at the same time the sea state close to the exclusion zone. And for me that was just all a bit risky. The idea was to try and shelter in the middle of the low, but to get there you had to sail through some pretty horrible stuff, and if the low had placed itself a little bit differently, then it could have been pretty harsh for a long time. So I'd seen a route which is longer for sure, but it takes me around the worst of the wind and sea state to the north, and then there's good enough conditions afterwards to be able to get back south again, so it's not really an issue for the route towards Cape Horn. And for me, the idea is to get past Cape Horn with a boat, which is, my boat's in great shape and so am I, and the sails are in great shape too, and that's the plan, is to arrive there like that and not take any unnecessary risks between here and there.
On the tracker we can see that Yoann Richomme is in the lead from Charlie Dalin, just 13.4 nautical miles behind, and they're both back into the breeze going at over 20 knots. And Seb Simon, the other one in the South Atlantic, has decided to go to the west of the Falkland Islands, and you can see he's downwind at the moment, but there is a transition zone up ahead which will result in upwind conditions. For the group in the Pacific approaching Cape Horn, there is strong winds coming down from the north, and we have Thomas Rouillon in 4th place, quite well clear of Jeremy Bayou in 5th place, and then we've got Boris Herman in 7th, and side by side we have Sam Goodchild and Justine Mettraux in 9th and 10th, and Yannick Besthaven, who had a problem with his sails, now in 11th. Around Point Nemo, the point which is furthest from any landmass on Earth, we can see both Clarisse Kramer and Benjamin Dutroux have decided to take the southerly option, but they are going to encounter extremely strong winds. We've got 36, 37 knots there, and so Sam Davies, who we just heard from, is taking that northerly option. She was highly concerned with the wave state, and if we take a look at that, we can see at the moment they're in, Clarisse is in about 4.85 metre waves, and Benjamin is in 6 metre waves, but we can see just further to the west we can see 7.5 metre waves already, and so this is what was concerning Sam so much. To the west of Point Nemo and to the east of New Zealand we have a group which is led by Roman Atanasio in 15th, followed by Damien Seguin in 16th, and in 17th Jean Le Cam, who is the leading daggerboard boat. And then if we look just facing south at the moment, Conrad Coleman, who we will hear from shortly, who was looking at the weather picture and it wasn't doing what he was expecting in that northerly option he was taking, so he's decided to dive south to avoid that light wind which you can see just above him. The 0600 ranking shows us there Yoann Richomme in the lead and Charlie Dalin 13.4 nautical miles behind. As you can see, their average speed's only around 12 knots for 24 hours, but their instantaneous speed's over 20 knots now they've come into the breeze. And it's Seb Simon in 3rd who has the lowest average speed over the 24 hours of just under 8 knots. Thomas Rouillon there, hopefully the next to round Cape Horn. And as we look, Boris Herman now only 91 nautical miles to 5th place, so he is continuing his rise up the leaderboard. In 9th and 10th place we've got Justine Mettraux and Sam Goodchild, separated by under a nautical mile. They're really close together. And then we can see Jean Le Cam in 17th, the leading daggerboard boat, and Conrad Coleman in 26th, who we'll hear from in a bit, and also Oliver Heer, who we will hear from as well on Tut Gut. The PredictWind routing option for Yoann Richomme, compiled by sailworld.com's New Zealand editor Richard Gladwell, shows us that there are various routes that he can take up the South Atlantic towards the equator. It very much looks like the options are bang the corners, do not go for the middle route. As you can see, the boat is well behind the dots on the two routing options, or the different routing options taken. If you take a look at a close-up of this, we can really see how the weather systems are extremely complicated along the South American coast, and there are some big light wind patches to navigate, and that option out to the east looks very interesting. How that looks terrible to start off with, but ends up being one of the best of the routing options to get through to the equator. For Sam Davies, we can see how that deep depression makes its way east, but with her northerly route she can avoid the worst of those waves that she was talking about, and then ride the front edge of that depression on her way to Cape Horn and then pass through to the Falkland Islands.
Not good. See that blue sky? Well, for once, I'm not happy to see that. I'm not happy to see that blue sky, because that indicates the next phase of the race, and I'm not ready to be there yet. It's not meant to be here. You see how this arrow doesn't match up with these arrows? I was meant to stay with wind a little bit south of west, which was giving me a really fast angle under code 0 down to the southeast, and the wind is now north of west and lighter than anticipated with this new clear sky, and that has definitively, I think, sunk my chances with this northern option, because when I came up here, and even on the 25th, it looked like I was going to be able to pass ahead of the group to the south, but yesterday it was pretty clear in the routing and in the weather that was not going to happen, and today, well, with the shift coming 9 hours earlier than it was meant to, well, that's really not helping. So that's frustrating, because it means I need to change phase. I need to go from a fast reaching to more of a running angle, so I'm going to go from the code 0 to the big Jenica, which is not as fast of a sail. And yeah, I don't think, obviously I'll keep fighting as much as I possibly can, but I don't think this option has worked as well as I hoped it would. Initially it showed me taking, except for Yoann Richomme, taking the lead of the daggerboard boats. Now I think that the four boys, Tanguy, Benjamin, Louis and Sébastien, will certainly pass ahead, and then the question is whether I can still get ahead of Violette, or whether I slot in behind her. But I guess you need to remember, when judging the success of this or not, I was already behind her going into this northerly option. So, so long as there's no more damage aside from Violette, there's no great damage done. But what's true in sailing particularly, and also everywhere else in life, is that it's really hard to argue the counterfactual. Would I have been better going the other way? Given what I know now, I still don't think so. And so, it's really challenging to pick a strategy and to weigh up the risks and the benefits in sailing, particularly in the Southern Ocean, where the weather forecasts are slightly less reliable than they are elsewhere in the world. But also, elsewhere in life, you need to be sort of patient and sort of gentle with yourself when deciding to do things, and not knowing how they're gonna end up. So maybe this option hasn't worked as well as I had hoped. I'm still pleased that I took it, because arguing the counterfactual, I think that it's probably better than what I could have done otherwise. Just following Violette and the other guys down into the light winds, it's highly probable that I would have been even further distanced than I am now. I might not be happy with the wind shift, but it's great to see the sun again.
Hello everyone, it's Ollie on board Tut Gut. on day number 48 of the Vendée Globe. As I mentioned yesterday, it's quite windy here. Quickly swap to the bow camera. We're sailing in about 40 knots, broad reaching. The waves are getting quite big as well again, 5 meters to 6 meters, and it's quite cold. But everything is all right on board. I thought I might use this moment to quickly show you my navigation, watering at the moment. So as you can see, I'm now kind of dead in the middle between Australia and New Zealand. In fact, I'm actually closer now to New Zealand than I am to Australia. The purpled out area is the ice limit, so I kind of rounded the corner of the ice limit yesterday, and now I'm sailing southeast. But when I overlay the wind to this page, you can see I'm kind of just getting into the strongest bit of wind. I'm expecting the biggest gust so far I've seen was 48 knots. I think I'll be seeing gusts in the mid 50s. But right now, this wind is coming kind of from my side. Reaching, the wind will move more to the back, which will make sailing much easier and more bearable. Now, the downside is I'm on port tack, meaning I don't have a keel which I can cant. My keel is pinned in the middle. So I've spent a lot of time stacking all my available weight on the high side of the boat and fill all my ballast tanks to try and get as much righting moment as possible. I already mentioned the waves, that they're getting quite big. Now, one thing that I am very aware of is in about 8 hours, I'm approaching Macquarie Island, one of the Antarctic islands. There are some rocks close to the islands, which I'll stay well clear of. But what is also is there is a big spit of land. Well, it's submerged, but there is a big shallow area reaching out to the north from the island. Currently, I'm sailing in about 4,500 meters of water, and this shallow area, the water goes down to 600 meters. So I'm a little bit worried about the sea state there. If I currently sail in about 6 meter swell, 6 meter waves, I think these waves could get much bigger there. It's only a short period of time where I'm sailing in this area, but I am trying to stay as clear as possible from them. I'm wishing you all a great day, and I'll keep you updated again. Everyone have a good one. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much for watching today. Please do subscribe to our channel using the button down here, and take a look at sailworld.com and yachtsandyachting.com for all the latest news in sailing.